Hold on. Hello, hello, hello.
What up? What up? What up?
What's going on? I had to I don't want to say the word. Uh had to get it together tonight, make it work.
Oh, you had. Oh, okay. All right. Well,
How's
what's
it
up,
going?
beautiful people? I'm good, man. I'm good. Welcome to the Binge podcast. Everybody watching at home. I'm your co-host G. Oliver here with the legendary Nate Couser,
Legendary.
aka
I don't know about
Nasty
that.
Nate. Soon to be legendary.
We are
Soon
in
to be
here.
legendary. How's that? Soon to be legendary.
You can call me whatever you want to call me. Just keep them checks coming. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at.
Facts.
People were talking about you sipping, so I said, let me just get a beverage. It's nothing but water, but
oh, well, that's no fun. And I don't have nothing tonight.
I
don't have nothing tonight.
You gonna be real raw tonight.
Yeah, I ain't got my mellow juice tonight. It's just me.
So I don't know who I did was to watch Emancipation, but I don't care how good they are or bad they are. They've always put me in the same mood. And then following, and so I'm tired of all these streaming apps getting me for my money. So Apple Plus gave you like a little 7-day trial. I said, let me just see what's on here before I just go gung ho and just put another something 99 on my on my debit card.
I think
so.
When I got it, it was $6.99, and I think it's gone up since then.
Well, it told me $6.99 a month. Maybe it was the way I went.
Okay, maybe it is still $6.99. That's fine. Maybe I remember it was $6.99, and a couple of them, we get the notices every so often. The price is going up. I may have gotten it confused with Disney Plus, maybe.
Well, it probably go up at some point. Because once people start sharing, codes and whatnot, it got hip, and now they charging extra.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I also think that it has a lot to do with the sheer volume of content and like what they are producing, especially as they move into producing their own stuff, and that costs a lot more. So
is that I don't know, it just say Facebook user. Is that Noah? I don't know who that is.
I'm not sure who that is. It just says Facebook user.
So if you are listening, please take a moment to subscribe to our Instagram page as well as our YouTube page, The Artist Exchange, where you can find.
Oh no, that's Mr. Satterfield.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, jokester.
How you doing, sir?
So I kind of went into it a little bit, tried to see what was on it. I watched. Is it Banker?
The Banker.
Samuel L. Jackson.
With Samuel Jackson and
I cannot remember his name. A very diverse actor, but I gotta remember his name as well. I know he's from New Orleans.
The new Captain America.
Right. He's been in some. He's one of those actors. Like a Samuel Jackson, like a Will Smith, that just dibble and dabbles in a little bit of everything. So it really, I like watching him play. But it was, going from Emancipation to Banker, kind of in the mood right now. So much so that I was like, I got to get out of the studio. I was in my studio space.
What kind of mood did it put you in?
Anytime I watch something where it is very blatant in terms of how black people have been treated in this
Mm,
country and just the
mm-hmm.
world for that matter, and people still want us to let it go and forget about it. And I'm all for diversity. It just has to be something. Um, I don't know. Is it going to take another African American Smithsonian or
Mm,
reparation? I don't know what it's going to take for me not to feel that way every time I watch any movie. And both of those movies were based on history.
mm-hmm.
Um, and it's just hard, especially when people knowingly get over or get away with treating us badly, even in today's world. And I'm a person that I treat everybody fairly, whether I like you or not. I'm gonna treat you like I would
Yeah.
treat my own mother. Um, but it just really kills me. And I grew up in white spaces, so I know the reality of how current that treatment still is, and it just, you know, for the people that look like us that I hear saying we need to get over it, the Herschel Walkers of them all, um, it really has to. I need them to deal with it
Yeah.
and really face it, so they know that this is still a real thing. Redlining is still a real thing. Gentrification is still a real thing. Discrimination is still a real thing. I'm not gonna get on my, as he would say, my soapbox today, but it just when you watch stuff like this, you cannot deny. I don't want to hear one Jewish person uh compare the treatment.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand we've all been through things throughout history that have been terrible. But please stop denying what Black people have been through and how it does not affect us today.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Especially when nothing has really changed other than how they discriminate against us. But yeah, so I was like, okay, let me, and I was putting it off, putting it off, putting it off, and you sent me a message saying you watched this. I said,
Mm-hmm.
let me
Go ahead and
just
check it out.
let
What
me
did
just
you
watch
think of
it.
it as a film? Like just like as a film, outside of the fact that outside of the content, which
Um,
is hard to watch.
I like
Um,
how specific it was. Um, I like how, and he said this in many of his interviews that he did leading up to this. It wasn't about slavery necessarily.
right.
It was kind of a journey to freedom, and they actually uh, captured a very small part of his life. I think he lived a few years after that, like at the end of
Mm-hmm.
this piece, but they don't really know how old he was. So, um,
Right.
uh, and that's an unfortunate part. He did,
Mm-hmm.
outside of him knowing his parents, he didn't really know his own age. And that was
Mm-hmm.
a sad part. But I liked how, and what was crazy, the more I got into it, I didn't even really notice it was in black and white, because it was kind of not all the way black and white, but it
It
was.
was
I like how it
something
was shot.
very. So I noticed that too. It was something very unique about the cinematography
Uh
because
huh.
it starts off very, very clearly black and white.
Mhm.
And then something about it softens as the
Right. You
movie
start
goes
to.
on.
You can
So
almost
at
make
one
out some
point,
color.
I'm like, oh, it's color now. But then
It
like
wasn't.
in
Mhm.
brighter settings, it was very clearly still in black and white. And I was just
Right.
like, that's interesting.
But you could
So
almost
the
make out the green in
cinematography
the
was
trees. Mhm.
yeah, the cinematography was beautiful. I thought that the performances were pretty top notch across the board. Um, I posted on my social media today. I was like, I said, yeah, we all know he can't show up, but y'all can go ahead and just drop the nomination off at Will's door. Um,
I said that.
because
And
I
we had
think,
said that I think when we first came back, but give it to
mhm.
him, and it would be so
Well,
profound
when we
if.
talked about it earlier, we hadn't seen the film. The film hadn't even come out yet. I think we talked
Mhm.
about that. We talked about the slap in our first episode of the season, and we
Mhm.
talked about how it would. how funny, how potentially awkward it would be if after all of that he got nominated, because the buzz around the movie was definitely positive. But now that I've seen it, and especially considering that it's December, so that Oscar nomination window is closing. So like I can compare it to some of the other like really, really good performances I've seen this year.
Right.
I feel like he's a shoo-in for the nomination. I'm not saying he's going to win, but I would be a little bit surprised if he wasn't nominated, because that was a hell of a performance on his part.
It was.
I wouldn't be surprised if Ben Foster got nominated as well. You know,
I want to put out there even the one who played his wife. I think that was a really good. It was a. So I'll say I'll start with what I don't like, and it was only one thing. I just need whoever is in charge of hiring people to do. I thought the makeup was great. The costumes were good. They were really good. Like you said, the cinematography, I can tell the direction, the choices, all that was great. I'm just tired of seeing sharp shape ups on slaves. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I just need, black people hair grow a certain way, and I just need us to just get it one time. And it wasn't so obvious.
Now, what's your issue with the sharp shape ups?
It's not a reality.
Is that not a? So I actually, and I can't argue with you about this one because I don't know. But I don't know in the other way either. So I would have to take your word on it. But I mean, I think about like
it was that close to a temper tape. It was that close. And honestly, okay, so the sharp shape up is very possible because they use razors.
All you need is a razor, right?
Right. But if all of this is going to be scrunchy, this can't be crisp. This can't be crisp. That's all. I'm not complaining. Will Smith, 10 toes down. I love you, man. But I just this me every.
That's the one thing that gets you.
And they gave him a little widow's peak, but it was crispy though. I could tell it was a weave. I could tell it was a weave. I'm good. I'm fine. I'm okay with, you trying really hair prosthetic.
To know like our barbering techniques and like when it started, and like whether or not there was something that went on. I think I might look it up this week. I'll get back to us. I'll get back to us on this topic next episode. I'm gonna look it up because now I'm
it's very possible for shape ups to be that sharp because they actually use razors, and I believe it wasn't even it was like a really sharp knife at that point. But
you can tell you can tell you like a director because you're looking at it at all from every technical aspect possible.
But I don't even think
I've ever noticed. Like, damn, them slaves bipped up. Like, I don't think I've ever.
But it bugged me because you can tell the men who probably had their natural hair grow out, and the ones that like Will Smith probably had a really close cut and it was too close, and they was like, let me just add some pieces. I get that. But then I looked at the young man who played his son at some point, and he had a crispy. And I was like, damn.
Now when I watch it again, I'm gonna be looking for it.
But see, and that's a lot of my friends, that's why they don't go to the movies with me, because it takes me a couple times to watch a movie before I'm entertained by it. Like I was way into my adult life before I could watch The Color Purple and just watch it for entertainment value.
Watch it for what it was, right?
But it takes me a couple because I'm looking at continuity. I'm looking at, costumes, and I'm not a real big lighting person. I am a little bit a stickler for sound placement and how you score it. Like we was watching some movie and both of us both agreed that the sound was just awful. And I can't remember the name of the movie, but I just remember the sound being too much. Yeah. It was like competing with the actual movie. What was it? Because it had words in it. it used actual lyrics doing it.
Oh,
This was a distraction.
we were talking about the other slave show. The one that was on the
Not the other
Black
slave.
Network. The other slave show. Okay. Oh no, okay. So we could have been talking about one or two things because I remember I brought it up. So one of them was Django. Okay. And in the
Okay.
middle of Django, and I remember us having this conversation because it like for a second, it like
I think
pulled
it was
me
a
out of
newer
the
one though
cinematic.
too.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get to that, but I know for me, because that's a pet peeve. Like when I'm watching, like it's a pet peeve for me when I watch these period dramas, and we're the only ones who do it. Like it's only in Black films where we're watching like this period piece, and then like some music or some lyrics from today pop up. So in Django, it kind of
So
pulled me
Beyonce
complete.
playing during the
I'll
revolt
never forget
thing.
that experience. I'm sitting in the theater, and then like it's like this exposition shot of them traveling, and it's Rick Ross rapping, and I was just like, okay, that was unexpected. And it kind of just it pulls you
wasn't it
out of the
like
what's the name?
what's his name? The two Southern rappers in it at some point. Or was that no, that was Will Smith movie, The Wild Wild West. I
Oh
was like,
wow,
this
wow, wow.
movie is
Well, I'm not even. Yeah, we're not even gonna mention that. But the other one was the show. I think it was called Runaway. I think that's what it was. And like in the first couple episodes, there was like modern hip hop music in the
I don't
show.
like
And
that.
I understand the connection that you're trying to make, but it just really rips you. And you watching this period piece, and then all of a sudden you hear Kanye West, and it just pulls
Yeah,
you completely out of the
yeah.
world that's being built. So yeah, that's a pet peeve of
And
mine as well.
I love like I listen to the Color Purple score, which is mostly instrumental by
Yeah.
what's his name? I was about to say Steven Silver, but the black
No, it
man.
was probably
I'm horrible with names tonight. But I'm
um
a stickler for that. I don't please don't try to mix in some hip hop, especially hip hop. But just be it's too much
yeah, it just
music to do
it
that.
doesn't it doesn't work in period pieces. It doesn't. It
Because
doesn't. It completely
it's
rips you
giving me
out of
very
it.
much so you push the button, you push play
Yeah. Yeah.
instead of
Now,
scoring and having
the
instrumentals.
one place where I actually thought it was kind of cool was when they did it in Bridgerton. Because what they did was they had these scenes where music was actually playing in the scene. It was like the music of the day, but then
Right.
they were like playing like the rendition of a popular song. And I think they did something from like Rihanna in one scene where they were
Yeah.
actually in a ballroom. It was a party, and the
Yeah.
band just happened to be playing this tune that it was less jarring. It didn't pull me out. It was like I was still in it, and I was like, "Oh shit, that's Rihanna,"
And
or
it
whatever
was a
artist. I was like,
fictional
"That's,"
it
and
was
that was also
fictional
fiction.
as well. So
Well,
you
so
can
was
get away with
Django.
stuff in something fictional or something that's supposed to be a little, farce.
Less based in reality. Right. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So but yeah, it's still but with Bridgerton they still stay true to the style of music.
Mm-hmm.
Uh even though they incorporated newer
They did,
music,
yeah,
they
and
still
they
use
it was
like
only like
string
once or twice.
instruments
They
and
didn't
stuff.
overdo it. Right. They didn't
Right. It
overdo
wasn't
it.
like
It was
straight
like once or
percussion
twice.
and
It was doing some relatively pivotal scenes in the season. So
hmm
and like I said, they did it where it was less of let's throw this in, and it was very very thoughtfully like weaved into the narrative. So
well, and they still
um
use the realistic instrumentals. Like it did not. You can tell the instruments choices were still of that time.
they
They
were
just
right,
played.
exactly. They had
Yeah.
the real instruments from that period that were just playing
hmm
that tune. Yeah. Um. So yeah, like I did not notice the shape ups in Emancipation. And for all of you who are joining us, we're talking Emancipation. Just recently released on Apple Plus and select theaters, starring Will Smith, directed by Antoine Fuqua. I I appreciated the genre blending that he did. Because this movie is actually, like you couldn't really classify it under any one genre, because at different points in the movie, and I've read some criticisms where like there was some critics who like they took issue with it. I enjoyed it. It kind of starts off as your typical period piece, kind of slave themed movie, and then just quickly kind of devolves into like a chase. Like a good chunk of the film is the runaway, and him being, trying to elude his pursuers. I particularly like, so the dude, there's a slave in the film that I found myself really invested in, and that was the one who had the brand on his face. And I was like, really, like, it was funny because like I was rooting for the whole group, but I think if I had to break it up, I was probably rooting for him just as much as I was rooting for Will's character.
Yeah.
But like
I wanted them. I was mad when they split up, but
you understood why.
Yeah,
right?
I understood
like,
why. But the characters didn't understand why. That's what was getting to me.
Right.
And I was glad when the two of them got to meet up at the end. I understood, like they just left the other. I don't know if they explained that. I have to watch it again for the details.
So yeah,
like that.
Yeah, and like I think it wasn't planned in the sense of this is what we're gonna do, right? And I felt like that was I don't have a way of knowing. It felt to me authentic though, because how much could you have really planned in advance? It's kind of like when we think we got a chance to get out of here, we gone. And like, that's what it is. And then everything after that, you got to improv.
I had that's how that one moment where they killed the first one, and he wound up kind of telling them what direction, and they end up killing him. And I was like, man, they about to shoot you in the back of your head.
I saw that coming. I'm pretty
sure
when
he said it, I said, they are not going to let you walk out of here, sir.
Right. So there's the chase aspect, and that turns it into kind of like a thriller, because you really never know what's about to happen. And then it kind of turns into like Glory. It kind of turns into this war movie all of a sudden. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was really impressed with how seamlessly it kind of morphed from one genre into another one. And as the story progressed.
But I appreciated that, because very seldomly, even in like Tuskegee Airmen movies, like you don't really get the idea of our involvement in it. They normally kind of glaze over that part. But I like how the movie starts with war as like the underlying, because you typically either see the war side or you see the slave side.
Right.
And you never get that blend of this was happening simultaneously. Even to include the New Orleans or the Louisiana aspect into it was brilliant, and it was honest, because people don't give Black people enough credit for their involvement in the independence of this country.
Oh yeah,
we normally are to blame.
That
for
was
the
probably
war.
my favorite part. I think I know exactly what you're talking about. That was my. I won't say because I don't want to. I don't want to spoil it for anybody. But when that cavalry showed up, that was probably like I almost jumped up and cheered. I was like, oh yeah, oh yeah, because I didn't know where that shot came from. I was like, who pop up?
But see,
you just slowly start to see
moments like that is why we still need movie theaters.
Yes,
those types of moments is why we still need a movie theater.
A movie theater?
You could get that. I see you going off in your own house.
I watched it right here at home, and I mean, like that was. I felt the same way I would have felt if I saw it in a theater. Like I clapped. I was like, "Oh, there go them boys."
But it's that collective like
Yes, that's true.
applause that you hear
That's true.
that
You
really
won't
puts you
get
into it. That's
that
what I miss
right.
about movie
You
theaters.
will not get that at home by yourself. No,
The
I will
last,
give you that.
the last uh movie I saw that gave me that feeling was Fences, and I remember seeing that like the was it Christmas Day? Yeah, I
It
remember
came
seeing that
out
Christmas
Christmas
Day
Day.
in Philly. Right. I remember seeing that Christmas Day in Philly, and we were in this. We was by Temple University, and I just remember that feeling
Mhm.
of just everybody applauding
Oh
at the
yeah.
same time.
Okay, that's dope. That's dope.
I didn't.
Fences
I
was.
For that movie, I was a little off because it was really doing the Viola Davis snot bubble scene, so I was a little nervous.
um. So yeah.
I
I
didn't see it, but you can
definitely.
talk about it.
I'm gonna give Emancipation an 8 out of 10.
Hmm.
8.5 out of 10. Actually, I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10. It wasn't a perfect film. I don't think. I don't. As a film, I think that I definitely think that it's going to get nominated for cinematography.
Yeah,
I definitely feel like that is going to happen.
I give it
Um,
a 9.95, and that's
woo,
only because of the haircut.
9.95. That's what I'm talking
That's
about. All
only
right.
because of the haircut. That's
No, but it was a very good film with a very strong
hmm
performances pretty much all the way around. A particularly powerful performance from Will Smith. Um,
I like how they connected the photo
mm-hmm.
um that we saw, and I actually uploaded that. So let me show it. I remember this photo, and I
I do
always like
too.
as a kid, I always wanted to know who this
Mm-hmm.
person was. Um, because you saw so many photos similar to this, but I remember this photo. This photo has
Mm-hmm.
been. I remember it was a poster of it in my elementary school. Um,
Mm.
I just remember a family member of mine had this as a poster in like their
Boy, that would kill
basement.
the anti-CRT move. The people today have a poster like this up in the elementary, middle school. Whoo.
Yeah. Well, I had a rural. I went to a all black, uh,
Mm-hmm.
which probably made some of the white teachers uncomfortable. But at that point, I don't think anybody cared. But I just remember this photo. But I liked how this photo was connected to the person. So you see that this is a real person and not just
Yep.
some doctored up photo.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was very realistic. Like you said, the film was really, um, it was good. You cannot deny the talent of a Will Smith,
Mm-hmm.
because he gives you something. He's not afraid to just jump out there and do something different. But
No, he's not.
I think you brought up Kendrick.
Yeah, so Kindred actually premiered tonight,
Hmm.
and I was really on the fence about Kindred. I feel like I was always gonna watch Emancipation because it's Will Smith and it's Antoine Fuqua and
Fuqua.
you know Fuqua. I'm sorry, and yeah, I just like I feel like that's just a shoe-in. Like that's like Denzel is like you gotta watch it. Like what I mean. Like you don't have no choice. You gonna have to be involved in like the the conversation. You just got to see it. Kindred, on the other hand, is like it's on Hulu. It's a Hulu original.
That's the one on
Um,
Hulu. Okay.
I at first was like, oh god, not another slave film, not another slave project. I can't do it. I was like, I feel like I was getting tapped out. But I'll tell you what, and we talked about this last week. When you start to tell your own story,
Hmm.
right? Now, I can't speak yet to who is behind the production of Kindred, but I do know that Kindred is the it's based on a novel by an African American science fiction writer.
Hmm.
Okay. So even if the production crew of this particular adaptation may not be us, the story that they're pulling from is absolutely the brainchild of of an African American author.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, Kindred is wild. I watched the first 2 episodes tonight just so I could
Mm-hmm.
come and kind of talk about, just to give a quick review. As soon as this is over, I'm gonna go back up so I can jump right into, like, my plan was to watch 1 episode,
And that's on Hulu.
and that's on Hulu. And I finished the first episode, and I know it. I how you can, you've been watching TV long enough, you can time. I can tell that it's about to be the end, and I'm like getting up to like grab the remote, turn it off, because I was like, I'm just gonna watch 1 episode, and there's like a cliffhanger on episode 1, and I was like, holy shit! I was like, I look at my watch. I was like, oh, I still got like an hour and 15 minutes before the show start. I'm gonna watch episode 2.
That's how I was with Emancipation. I was like, let me just get it out the way. Let me just get it out the way.
Kindred, the premise is this, and we talked about this last week. So there's a young African American woman who just recently moved to LA, and she begins to slip in and out of time. So it's set in the present, and she finds herself for longer and longer periods of time slipping in and out of between the present day and like 1815 on a slave plantation in Maryland. Okay. And she has a connection to this particular slave plantation, so it's not like a random occurrence. And I just, it's interesting. It's interesting as fuck. I can't even. I've only watched the first 2 episodes, and just in those 2 episodes, I was like, this is planned with some really interesting ideas, right? Like, I think we've seen projects before where people from the present day have ended up in the past, and we've seen some projects like this. Right. This one has much more of a science fiction feel to it. So it's a little bit, because I feel like in that science fiction kind of fantasy part, it almost just makes the slave setting just blend into the story. It doesn't become the focal point, if that makes sense, right? So it actually wasn't. It's actually easier to watch, right? And then there's like some mysteries going on because she keeps popping into the past at very particular points. And then what complicates and I think makes it even more interesting is that she's in an interracial relationship. And this person, there's never this thing of like, oh, maybe you're going crazy, maybe you're losing your mind. Like they clearly establish, like they bring him into the story where it's not even a question of whether or not she's hallucinating. No, this is really happening, right? So we got to deal with this. And and from there it's just going. And I'm hooked. I watched 2 episodes, and yeah, I'll probably watch another 2.
As we were saying the last episode, it is very important that we tell these stories. One, because I think we all need to hear it, but specifically young people need to see that our history is not just slave history. And there were things going on in this country, pre-slavery, post-slavery, all the way up into today, that involved us in many different aspects. We saw that in Hidden Figures. We saw that in The Help. We saw that in various, like, we are not one-dimensional human beings as Black people. We have so many different variations. And I like, even if it's done in a fictional way, it just gives us something different. It gives us something different or a different perspective to look at our history and our culture in. The same way they say we don't like science fiction, and then they gave us, what was the science fiction Black movie that had the Green Book as the foundation of it. Like, I just like how they're just mixing in.
Oh, you talking about Lovecraft Country?
Lovecraft, and that there was elements of that's real. And they mix in our history with this science fiction, and
Mm-hmm.
it became such a thing that we still, I think some of us still want to see a series two to that, or
Mm-hmm.
a continuation. But I just like
Yeah, a lot of
how
people were
even in
disappointed. A
fiction.
lot of people were disappointed around that. I was not. A lot of people was disappointed that they didn't go keep it going. I am a fan of, yeah, especially when you're working with source material. Um,
Mhm. Well, I
I
mean,
just think it.
keep writing then. Hey, Victoria. Hey,
Well,
Rick. Hey, Israel.
hey everybody. Shout out to everybody watching. Thank you for joining us. Um, so if you're alive, right, and you're gonna continue writing, or if you're still actively like creating, I think that's fine.
Hmm.
But the author of Lovecraft Country, um, I don't know if they've written other books, but I know that
Hey,
that
Sharon.
novel was like one complete story, right?
Right. Well,
Yeah.
well, I want it to be more, but I also understand those source materials was written to be
Mhm.
read, not watched on a
Right,
TV or
exactly. Yeah, I
a
don't think
movie
authors.
screen.
I think there's some authors, but I think most authors sit down and they write for their medium. I don't know how. I'm pretty sure there's authors that sit down and they're like, okay, I'm writing because I'm gonna get a movie deal, and I'm gonna get this turned into a series or a movie or a series of movies, and that's fine too. But one of the things I will say is this: I do have an appreciation for the respect of like, only, like respecting the fact, like Nate, like if you wrote a book, one book, right, and we decided, if someone came along and bought the rights to that book so that they could turn it into a film, or you gave someone the rights to turn into a film,
Hmm.
and that film was really, really popular, right? But you, for whatever reason, you're not writing anymore. Like maybe you passed away, or maybe, that for you, that story is complete. I feel like that needs to be respected. What I think is really kind of awkward is if, say, for instance, if me and you strike a deal and I go and produce a television show or a movie based on the story that you created, and
Hmm.
then because it's popular, right? Even though you're not writing anymore, now I'm gonna like figure out how to keep the story going,
Well,
even though your story, it's like your story is complete.
one of my favorite writers, Terry McMillan. That's what happened with Waiting to Exhale. There was no
Mm-hmm.
part two to that story, but because of the success of it and the popularity of the story and how much
Mm-hmm.
people loved it in general, there at some point probably will be a part two to it. There was always talks of it. Then Whitney Houston passed away, and then Gregory Hines passed away.
Mm-hmm.
So there was talks to do a part two,
Yeah, and
but
I'm sure
it
there
has to be
always talks,
reimagined without those two characters.
but I'm also I like, and you could, yeah, I could see them doing maybe a remake to Meeting the Exhale. I don't really see them doing a sequel at this point.
Well, that's and I
But
think
I also,
sometimes for our work it has to be greenlit and it takes a lot
mm-hmm,
of time. But she, as the author, has said. But again, Terry McMillan has clearly said. She said, "I write books. I don't write
mm-hmm,
movies. So
right.
I have to write the story, and then somebody will
Right. And
translate the
I
story."
just and I just feel like that's the way it should be. So if Terry
Hmm.
McMillan never got around to writing a sequel to Waiting to
Hmm.
Exhale, then there really shouldn't be a sequel to Waiting to Exhale. And my thing is that if you the likelihood of someone else being able to step in
Hmm.
and write that sequel outside of Terry McMillan, yeah, that's really tricky. And you could really ruin what you created, you know what I'm saying, by
Well, that
bringing
often, but
in
see that,
something that
and
doesn't live
not to
up.
say it's ruined, but that often happens because in Terry McMillan's book, the Whitney Houston character is the lead, and
Mm-hmm.
Angela Bassett character is not. But
Mm-hmm.
because of the for the sake of the movie and them probably leaning on Angela Bassett's character to be the strongest actor,
Mm-hmm.
they made her the lead. They
Yeah,
brought more of her storyline out in the script. That
and I
script
get
wasn't
that.
written by Terry McMillan.
Yeah, no, I get that it wasn't. But what I'm saying is that there was a Waiting to Exhale the book, and they took
Mm-hmm.
that book and they used that book as the basis and the inspiration for the movie, right? They make
Mm-hmm.
changes. I think that happens anytime that you're adapting something from one medium to another, right? Like you're
Right.
gonna have to make some changes in most cases, not all, because some are very, very true and faithful to what is written, and then some for I think that just understanding how the narrative or the narrative differences between like books and film, there's going to be some changes. But I think once you've told the story, right, when you start to go beyond that, trying to create new situations, new characterizations, bringing in new characters, I think that's what gets tricky. I think Terry McMillan could do that because
Mm-hmm.
that's her world, that's her vision.
Right.
I think if George, if G. Oliver comes in and just because I'm a successful screenwriter and I'm just going to come in and create and continue this story of these characters that I did not create, I did not breathe the life into
Mm-hmm.
them. I think that's where I would even go so far as to say we straddle the line of disrespect.
And that's one of the
Especially because we
reasons.
know
That's
you
one of
just
the
doing it
reasons
for a
I
cash
don't
grab.
like. It's one of the reasons I don't like remakes. For that very reason, I'm all for it if the author has created something and then it's like, well, let me continue this. So, like, I'm okay with Terry McMillan doing a part 2. Am I okay with them replacing the Whitney Houston character? No.
Mm-hmm.
Am I okay with them replacing the Gregory Hines character? No.
And see,
But I think with say like Black Panther, they found a way to continue it without
mm-hmm,
just replacing it and acting like that person didn't exist. That's
mm-hmm.
what I like to see. I like to see the continuation of the story
Yeah,
in
I
respect of
enjoy the
who's no longer
continuation of the
here.
story as well. I wanted like like I wouldn't want that to happen to me. I guess that's
To
I
be
wouldn't want
written
that to
out of a
be.
story.
I wouldn't. No, no, no. I wouldn't want to create something that then gets turned into a film, and
Mm-hmm.
then someone else tries to pick up the reins and keep it going because it was successful.
Well, you know
You know
what?
what I'm
That
saying? So if
happened
I
to
wrote one book, I
that
wouldn't
happened
want
to the
that to
Wayne's
happen to my
brothers.
work.
I know that movie was kind of like all comedy, but that happened to the Wayne's brothers. And that happens to a lot
Which
of
film was that?
movies. What was the name of it? Scary Movie. So the
So
first
right.
two
So
was
so so
them.
so so I think that's a great example, right?
Hmm.
Where they did Scary Movie 1, they did Scary Movie 2, and those were like phenomenal. They were great. They were like they part of the cultural zeitgeist, right? Like
Then it just got
they
real
are
buffoonery.
ingrained in the culture. And
Hmm.
then someone else decided that, when the Wayans said, okay, we're done. We've told this story that we want to tell, right? The studio, which probably owned a significant share of the rights to that franchise, just
Right.
decided that they were going to keep it going and thought that they were going to just throw like Charlie Sheen and and then it just turns into like buffoonery. I think that's a
Right.
perfect example. Now, if say someone came along, say like I don't know, one of the up and coming comedians of today, and they got the rights from the Wayans brothers to like remake Scary Movie, I'm okay with remakes because remakes typically are just a new adaptation of the same source material with changes, updated cast, things like that. But that's typically what it is. They don't always work. You know what I'm
And
saying?
it never
Like
worked for me.
they don't always work. As a matter of fact, they have probably they haven't worked much more than they have. And I
Right.
think we know this. But I still understand. I still have more respect for that than trying to take someone else's work and just continuing a
One of
story
my
that's already
fears
been
right
complete.
now,
What's
one of
that?
my biggest fears, and it's two actors that was really they was really cranking them out. Two black actors that was cranking them out in the 80s into the 90s. Whoopi Goldberg and Eddie
Mm-hmm.
Murphy. And my
Okay.
fear, more so on the Whoopi Goldberg side, the Jumpin' Jack Flash, the
Mm-hmm.
Telephone, all that string of movies that she did. I am afraid that people were
That
like, you know
somebody
what?
might
Let me just
remake
remake this.
those. Mm-hmm.
Especially the Telephone. If I see a remake of the Telephone, I'm going to jail. Like it's like I can see the Color Purple moving in different spaces. So now we about to get the movie The Color Purple.
Mm-hmm.
The musical movie The Color Purple. Okay, I
So
can do that.
it's an
Okay, I
adaptation
can
of the play.
based off the play. So it's going to be the
Right.
movie based off the
Yeah.
play.
Now,
Like
if they
that.
did, if they did a remake of The Color Purple, the Steven Spielberg
I'm
directed The
burning this
Color
shit
Purple,
down.
right?
Hear
You
me
would have
out.
an issue with that,
I'm burning
and
this shit down.
I really don't think we need a remake of that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just go watch the film. That's where I think. I feel you. I'm like, just go watch the original
But I'm
film.
also a person that even when they switch genres, I'm a person. I want to see that person who created that role
Mm-hmm.
in that. And it was a lot like Dreamgirls. I was really upset that they only brought one of the characters into it, and that was just for a cameo scene. I think that's disrespectful because that's the second reason I don't like remakes or adaptations because they often slight who created that space. And those three women created those roles. So to not have them to be a part of this is just totally disrespectful.
You said they
And
created the roles.
so that the Dreamgirls was a workshop piece with
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer Holliday. Um, I'm crazy with names today.
Mm-hmm.
She just won an Emmy um, for Abbott Elementary.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I know you.
Shirley
I
Ralph
don't know her. Okay.
and what's the other lady in it? Those three women originated those roles, and it was they poured their self into it. So when you see the original stage play, it was them. Like they literally workshopped that
Mm-hmm.
play to Broadway, and then when the movie came out, it was like we don't need them.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one of the reasons I don't like those adaptations because it kind of like we don't need that one. Let's do this new thing, and I don't pay homage to it. Like
Mm-hmm.
if the Color Purple musical does not have a cameo of Whoopi Goldberg, I'm gonna feel some kind of way. I'm gonna feel some kind of way, and not to say I
Mm-hmm.
need them all her
But yo,
and
sometimes some cameos don't work, yo. Because
but
I
it's
mean, yo,
but
like,
because they're just
what are you asking
cameos.
for? Are you asking for Whitney? I mean, I'm sorry, Whoopi Goldberg to come in and do a cameo as like a different
Just
character?
something like it worked, and the reason I know it can work because I remember
So I'm
seeing
not saying it can't work. I'm not saying it can't work. I'm saying that it could also be disastrous. I'll give you a perfect example.
when it's done shit when it's
They
not done right. Yeah,
when they remade, so everybody was pissed about this. So they remade so there's been two remakes of Ghostbusters, right? The original Ghostbusters.
yeah,
And the most recent remake is the one that I think for the most part
with
everybody
the women.
enjoyed. No. That's not the most recent one.
Okay,
But the before that was the one with the women, right?
okay,
And what they did in that one was they did exactly what you said. All of the original Ghostbuster characters was in that remake but they were playing
yeah,
different people.
yeah.
And it just did not work. It didn't work at
But
all. It didn't work at
for
all.
me, it works in different ways. So the
But some
Wiz
ways
just
it
had a
does work.
live action of the live theater, the live
Mm-hmm.
the TV theater version of it, where they did the Wiz
Of the
of
Wiz.
the
Okay.
Wiz. And it worked because they made the Stephanie Mills character. They made her instead of she was a little too old to be playing Dorothy, so they
Right.
made her Auntie M. And I was like,
Okay.
this works for
So
me.
that worked. That
I
worked.
respect that because it was
Because I
still
mean
paying
that
homage to
was a really good production in general. So like
right,
that worked.
right.
Um, if I
Even
thought
though he
long
doesn't
enough, I
like
could
the Wiz
probably
people.
right. I could think of a couple other places where it has worked, but generally,
When
I
it's
think
done just as a cameo, I
remakes are
don't
like
like it.
80. Remakes are pretty much in general. I feel like they're like 80-20. Like
Yeah,
80 of them are bad and were really just a
20 of
waste of
them are really
time,
good.
and 20% of them
I
are
just don't
like
want to see
are
Tiffany
tastefully
Haddish
done.
and Jumpin' Jack Flash. That's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see, and it's no slight to Tiffany Haddish, but I don't want to see any of those brilliant
It
comedic
can't be.
actresses
It can't
in
be.
an
It
old
can't
Whoopi
be
Goldberg
someone.
movie.
It can't be someone who's known for comedy. It's got to be someone who is just an actress who
Because
steps
that's
in.
how
If
Whoopi
they
came
just
up. She just was
like
in stuff.
exactly. So it's
Mm-hmm.
got to be. It's got to be more like that than like I don't think that you should go and just don't go for the obvious. Don't go and
Mm-hmm.
cast like a Tiffany Haddish or like, what I'm saying, like another just a comedian just because they're funny and you putting them in a funny movie.
Because
Like
I'm
you're
afraid
right.
for Sister Act 3.
There's gonna
One,
be a Sister Act 3
yes. I'm afraid
with
for it.
Whoopi
One, because the
with
musical
Whoopi.
didn't really live up to one or two. And one and
What
two were
about
iconic for their own reasons.
so is
But
3 gonna bring Whoopi back though?
yeah, so Tyler Perry is
So
doing it.
that's a sequel. That's a hard, like that's a real live 20-year later sequel. Okay. Those have been hit or miss as well, right? When you take that
When you
long
wait
of a
that
time.
long. Uh-huh.
Yes. But it's a true sequel. So
Yeah, but
yeah,
I'm
you're
nervous
probably
for
right.
it
You
because
should be nervous. You should be nervous. It's
I'm
gonna be
very
really
nervous
hard
for it because I
to
think Tiffany Haddish is in
recapture.
it.
Yeah. Oh, what?
Yeah.
Why? Did she sing?
No, I mean it doesn't necessarily have to
No.
be a musical. I mean, she doesn't have to be a singing role in it, you
That's
know,
true. That's
but
true. That is true.
but
That is true.
I'm more nervous because Tyler Perry is doing it.
Yeah. I mean, that's a fair reason to be nervous.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still holding out hope for Tyler though. So
I'm holding out a lot of
I'm
hope,
holding out
but
hope. I'm holding out
you
hope.
know, and it seems to be a Hollywood thing when it comes to black people and their hair, but he just does it the worst. Like you know somebody homegirl
Well,
from around the way that you
uh-huh.
can kind of slip in there and pay her on the side to fix them weaves up.
Yeah, but now you running foul of the unions.
I mean, put her in a
You running foul of
union.
the unions.
You can
I
make a
feel like
union.
I feel like there might be like you would think that wouldn't be a problem in this day and age. We have so many talented like hairstylists and makeup artists and all that stuff, but it really is a
Especially
thing.
in
Like
Atlanta. And you in Atlanta.
the way
She's
that
in
black people
Atlanta,
are
the
shot,
hair
sometimes
capital
the
of the
makeup,
United States.
sometimes the lighting, just capturing light on melanated skin tones.
We be looking
Sometimes
real
it's
casket
off.
ready.
That was one of the criticisms of Black Panther was that in those night scenes,
It
that
was nice.
it seemed like it was really difficult
Really
to see
nice.
some people. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
um,
It was another
I
movie that
I
was
think
shot
that's one
like
of those
that.
things where like as more of us, get into those roles, like officially, like the unionized working on movie
Yeah.
sets, we'll start to see better outcomes there, right?
But it
Like
should be no reason that Atlanta is still not, if you shoot anything in Atlanta, the hair better be on point. That is the hair show
it should
capital
be,
of the world.
but
I need it to be.
sometimes you got to go with what your budget dictates.
And and honestly, that's what Tyler Perry said. He said the budget that people were giving him for those movies
Mm-hmm.
was
Yeah,
so low. But I'm gonna need for
right.
you.
But
all those
wait.
years.
Some of the heaviest criticism. So I understand that what Tyler said, but then what I found funny was that some of the heavier, more recent criticisms, right, were films that were made after he had like bought his own studio. And my theory was that he was back to being broke. You know what I'm saying? That was my actual theory, was
Well,
that
I don't think it was quite that, but I think that's when he started to uh, go along with the union rules. So that meant him
so
having
that was
to
that.
pay
So
more.
that was probably that as well. But
Hmm.
I also think about the fact that like he built his own movie studio pretty much from the ground up, right? It
Hmm.
takes a lot of capital. So I
I'm
was
sure he
always
has
wondering,
partners and Oprah and.
well, I'm sure he does, but still,
Hmm.
like, like you had partners, like, you know, I just thought that the first couple films that came out of his studio and the TV shows, like they all looked very surprisingly low budget. And I was wondering if
Surprisingly,
maybe,
you were
well, because like a
surprised.
lot, yeah, because his films that he did with like Lionsgate, like, like you can bring up all types of issues with those films, but they didn't really look low budget. They looked
Yeah,
like,
but that was
you
that
know what
was
I'm saying,
that
like
was
they were
a that was a
polished.
studio giving
They
him a
Yeah.
little bit of
So
money.
that was and so
Now
that was my
he's
thing.
using his money.
I felt, and that's what I was saying. So like, how much money do you really have after you built an entire like movie studio, right?
But
Like it's gonna take you some time to
I
get back
still
in the
got
black.
whoever he got his. I know the line manager is still, you know, really powered by Tyler Perry. Like, I'm only giving this movie $1 million, and that's all
Uh-huh.
we spend it.
Right.
But again, he was still paying actresses, so he was investing more money into it, and I'm sure he had investors to help him. But now there's a difference when you use somebody else's money. That's a nine
Yep.
to five versus your own independent business. So
So
when
Tyler
you
Perry,
can use all the toilet paper in the bathroom or all the paper towels versus, bitch,
right.
I'm buying that. You need to slow up on that. It's a big
So
difference.
Tyler, if you watching, right, between me and Nate, we know about 7, 8 people that can come down
I
there
can do
and
it for you, Tyler.
get them heads right on the cheap. All right, like
I'm just, but he in Atlanta. Somebody will do it for. I
holla
mean,
at us.
I'm sure you can't go to the celebrity stylist, but some little homegirl in the hood and up in Bankhead or something will
Right,
hook
right,
you up.
right,
And I
right.
need you to go for that little chick up in Bankhead. And I know union rules say, it got to be a union person doing. Have her come on as a consultant and, consult. you
Hmm.
know, you know, uh, you figure a way around it. You got money. Give her some type of non-fancy union title. They be like,
Right,
"Who is
right,
this girl? She's umpteen, blah da da da." But it's
right.
just,
Get it
I don't
together.
want to see another cornrow wig in my life. I just can't. I can't do it, especially on Shamar Moore. If you wear another cornrow wig, Shamar Moore, I'm done with you. Uh, but
Oh man.
so another segment, um, just stuff that we can talk about that we may have touched on, but we didn't
Hmm.
necessarily, it wasn't a part of today's show. And I'll start Banker. Now I have to go back and watch this movie
So this
again.
is the banker with
Yes,
Samuel L. Jackson and
right.
did we? Oh my God! Oh, Captain
Now
America.
this was kind of the come off of Emancipation, and it started playing. So I was like, it just went into the next movie, and I was like, okay, I'll watch this. When I saw the gentleman in there, when I saw Samuel Jackson, I was like, oh, this is safe. I can watch this. And Neil Long was in it. I was like, oh, this is safe. And then when I realized how heavy the story was, so one of the first bankers, black banks, and there was a lot of controversy around it, and he ended up losing the bank and actually both of them going to jail uh,
Hmm. For
for
fraud, right?
mishandling
Yeah.
funds when it was really the white bankers there that was messing up and doing illegal things and blaming it on the black people. And then the black people hired these white people to run the bank, but did not tell the public. So the
Right.
white people who were putting their money in this bank was really upset and began to, you know, pivot on them because they felt like the bank was being run by the NAACP. I guess that's at that
Hmm.
time that was black people.
Right.
Uh, but it was a really interesting story, and I I'm going to watch it again, probably tonight, because I didn't really give it the attention that it deserved. But it was definitely something that was binge worthy to me. Do you have
Oh
something
yeah.
that was binge worthy?
On Apple Plus.
Any platform, any platform.
Um, no.
Something that you just
Um,
watched on the humble and it was wound up being really good.
um, so I just recently finished 1899.
Mm,
Um, and that was a really like that was it was really good. And I felt like I knew it was going to be really good, but it's a little bit of a slow burn when you first
mm-hmm,
starting out. Uh, with just enough sprinkled in to be like, like what the hell was that? And this show
mm-hmm,
has like an incredible number of what the hell, like WTF moments that I don't think a lot of people would see coming. So
mm.
1899 was very good. What else have I watched lately?
I know for me, and this was, if you are against public displays of affection, sexuality, and all that,
Mhm.
I wouldn't suggest you watch it. Disclaimer, disclaimer. But I wound up watching it, and it was something that I thought I would watch only because Tisha Campbell was in it. But the TV series Uncoupled with Doogie
Uncoupled.
Howser, uh, he plays a gay man who his lover leaves him like real randomly. Like he tells him when he's about to
Oh,
go
I
into
saw the
a
trailer
surprise.
for this with Neil Patrick Harris.
But when I say I started watching it, and it was good only
Hmm.
because how devastating the storyline was. You was like, could you really be in a relationship with somebody and still be stuck on them? And they tell you before you throwing them up, he threw his love of 17 years a surprise party. They're walking into the surprise party and he whispers in his ear, I can't do this no more. I'm moving out. And then you have to go through a whole surprise party as if you just get this news. When I say Tisha
Not,
Campbell
not.
is, I love Tisha Campbell, and many
Uh
people
huh.
don't give her comedic uh, props, but she is really
Yeah.
funny. And as she's getting older, she like her is just her, and you get to see
Hmm.
her. And she really balanced this out a lot. Um, with her, and she wasn't loud. You know how sometimes she be loud and real. She wasn't
Yeah.
that at all. It was a
Gotcha.
good, and I wound up watching the whole series. I think it was like maybe 7 or 8 episodes, and I wound up watching it all the way through because
Okay.
it was an interesting story. Neil Patrick
And what's
Harris
that
was pretty
called? That's
good.
called Uncoupled.
Uncoupled. It is
Uncoupled.
it is a story. It's really a story for like a middle-aged person. I think that's kind of their target audience, but it
Hmm.
is so comical, uh, but it's so serious at this. Like it's a serious issue. You just got dumped after being with somebody for 17 years, and you thought this was going to be the rest of your life. And then there are other
Uh huh.
storylines like that in there. I don't really like Tisha Campbell's storyline,
Gotcha.
but they leave us at the end on a cliffhanger. So season two is probably going to be. You can tell a lot of these streaming series they rush them just to get them out, and then they kind of gauge how people liked it, and then season
Interest.
two
Right.
is a lot better.
They start
So I
to
think
settle
season
in.
two for this
Right.
is going to be a lot better than
Uh,
the first season.
okay. So that's Uncoupled with Neil Patrick
Uncoupled,
Harris and
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 I
the
want to
wonderful
say that was
Tisha Campbell.
Netflix.
That's Netflix.
Yeah.
Jumping back to Apple Plus. One thing, and it's been a while since I've seen this, but
Hmm.
not since we've reconvened our episode. So I'm gonna bring it up. Uh, you still on the free trial with Apple Plus?
I
You
just
started
literally I
the trial.
just
Are
got it
you gonna keep
today.
it? Okay, so
I'm
check
well,
out.
I think I may continue only because
Yeah,
these two movies were good.
Well,
And what I'm noticing with Netflix is getting less and less black content. So
Netflix getting less and
I
less
just
black
feel that way. When I
content.
was looking through the timeline of Netflix, it wasn't as
Yeah,
melanated
you
as it
could,
has
you
been
could,
over the
but
pandemic.
we got our own category though, right?
I do, but a lot,
So you
still when
might,
you
a
on the
lot of times you
main,
might have to hit category because unfortunately, I still, because we still live in, it's still America. So, to get up there on that top 10,
very
to get,
true. See, very
what I'm
true.
saying? Like, I don't, all of us could be watching and it
Hmm.
still may not be enough to get us into like that top 10, right? Where
Or
you would
or
see it when it first comes in.
they're choosing what to put up front because only black faces that I really saw
Uh-huh.
was Tisha Campbell's because that TV show came up, but it was really Neil Patrick Harris's face. And
Yeah.
of course Kevin Hart was like sprinkled in there a little bit.
So
But
yeah, Kevin Hart
I
is
didn't see
sprinkled
a
in
Dave
there.
Chappelle. I didn't
Um,
see, Monique about to get two different things or her I don't think her either show is out yet. Her
right.
stand up special or the TV show I think it's a movie that
Mhm.
she's in.
Yeah,
Is
I'm
gonna
not
be
really
on there.
sure how. I'm not. I've always assumed that it's about viewership. It may not be.
But over the pandemic, when I say it was nothing but black faces going across it, and then how they put the things that it
Um,
categorized, like it was just
yeah.
bam, bam, bam. So I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, so they
All
back
right.
to normal. Okay, I got
Yeah.
you.
Got you. I had to look. I had to check for that. But just thinking about like what's in the top 10 now and what's been in the top 10 the last couple of weeks, I ain't seeing a whole lot of. We ain't getting a whole lot of love. We ain't getting a whole lot of love.
Let me go to Netflix real quick because there was
Yeah.
something else that I wound up watching yesterday
But
because
also, I
I
thought that
watched.
Netflix was like tailored, like a tailored experience. So it really went
Yeah,
off of like what you watching, and then
but I ain't
Netflix's
watching that.
algorithm would start
That
to.
ain't stuff I'm watching. That's none of that is what I watch. Only thing that was on there that I was watching was The Crown. Have you watched The Crown yet?
I have not watched The Crown. I
They're
hear it's really
on
good.
season. I want to say this is season 5. So
Mm-hmm.
season 5 of The Crown which is so devastating because I don't know that lady. So let me stop. But
Because
this
this is the
season is
Princess
about
Diana
Princess
season, right?
Diana,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah.
This
That's what I
season
just
is
said.
about
I thought
Princess
that's what it was.
Diana.
I hear it's good. I haven't watched it.
It
One
is
show that you should definitely
we
check
know
out.
because their lives are so public. It makes the show so interesting.
Uh-huh.
But I like British comedy TV shows. Like, Are You Being Served? Please watch
Mm-hmm.
that, sir. I don't know if you've ever
Are you
watched that.
being served? Okay.
Are You Being Served? It is that
That's gonna be my next subscription.
is that Netflix?
Nah,
It's
yo,
Netflix.
BritBox. They got a service now called BritBox.
What is that?
It's like $5-6 a month, but it's all the British TV shows.
When I tell
Like
you,
all of
I
them.
grew up watching Are You Being Served and Absolutely Fabulous. And it's
Okay.
another one. It's another TV show, and I can't remember the name of it. It's like a senior citizen soap opera.
Okay.
And you sometimes what they're saying goes over your head, but you just wind up laughing along with it. Are
Uh-huh.
You Being Served? I was too young to be watching Are You Being Served because that humor was so this adult. But I
Yeah.
love it. Those are the 3 shows that I like. And I got to remember the name of that third show, but it was hilarious.
Gotcha.
But yes,
So
please watch Are You Being Served?
while you have Apple Plus,
Hmm.
matter of fact, after you watch The Banker again or Emancipation, I forgot which one. You said you were gonna watch one of
I
them
watched
again.
the
The
Emancipation. I
Banker.
gotta wait a minute
So
before I watch that because I might
right.
go out and slap somebody.
So
But
after
I'm gonna
you
watch
watch
Banker.
The Banker again, right?
Hmm.
Check out Severance.
Separates.
Severance, like severance
Severance.
pay,
Okay.
severance.
Okay.
So not a whole lot of us in Severance. I'm going like not a whole lot of us. But so here's the premise. There's a company where they do they do a experimental procedure called severance. Essentially, they access a part of your mind dealing with memory, and you have no recollection of your work life. None.
Mm-mm.
So literally, like, you walk out the door on a Friday, or you walk out the door at the end of the day, and that part of your memory is completely shut off and inaccessible to you.
I need
So
that.
all you know is your regular everyday life, your personal life, and then you go to work and you have no recollection. But then on the flip side, there's this part of you that only knows work, that never knows what it's like to have a personal life.
That
It
sounds like
is
my
one of the
life.
most, and this was written, I think this was written and created by Ben Stiller.
I can see that.
So there's some comedic undertones, but it's a serious, like, it's a show that takes itself very seriously.
So does it go back and forth between you knowing and you not knowing, or what's the?
Oh, you gotta, like, I can't really. It would be difficult for me to try to explain it, especially
I'll
without
watch it.
like spoiling it. Check out the first episode, because if you're not caught in by the first end of the first episode, it's probably not for you. But check it out.
So my next one is Q Force.
Huh?
It's called Q Force. Now it's some wild stuff. This Q Force is an animated adult
Oh,
cartoon.
okay.
And it
Q
is some
Force.
wild. I don't know what I was going through this weekend, but I was watching some. It was so random. At some point, I watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I
That's a
was going
classic.
through some stuff. I don't know what was
That's a
going on.
classic, though.
Yeah, but it was. I was watching it like I had never seen. Like I had never seen this movie every day of my childhood. But I was watching it like it was my first time, and that got me into, because I was watching Netflix a lot this weekend.
Is this
And
on
that
Netflix?
got me into Q Force. Now Q Force is, like I said, it's this
I see.
animated cartoon, and it has a lot of voiceovers like Wanda Sykes. Who else would you know? Gary Cole, Wanda Sykes,
Mm-hmm.
Laurie Metcalf, Sean Hayes,
David
Patty
Harbour.
Harrison, Matt Rogers. It was created by Gabe Liedman. The maturity rating is TVMA, so you
Niecy
know it's
Nash is in
already
this.
off the chain. Language, nudity, and sex.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to sleep watching this, so much so that I woke up and it was still playing. And I was like, what the hell am I listening to? Because all I could, Wanda Sykes' voice is so recognizable, but it fits under crime, comedies, adult animation, LGBTQ. This show is
Uh-huh.
raunchy, witty, and irreverent. That's how they describe it.
So Q Force, here's the premise. A handsome secret agent and his team of LGBTQ super spies
Hmm.
embark on extraordinary adventures.
It's weird. It is so weird. Don't go to
So
sleep watching it.
that already sounds like it's probably hella interesting.
It is. It's. I want to say it's funny because I wasn't watching it. I was listening to it.
Uh-huh. Like
Uh,
falling asleep on it.
right. I was going to sleep, and it was just things, and it was always Wanda Sykes' voice saying something, and I kept like turning over and looking at it like, what the hell is this? And it'll be some scene with Wanda Sykes in it, but it's very, very much so.
Mm-hmm.
It's a funny thing. But I was being real random this weekend and stuff that I was watching, only because I wanted to touch on some stuff, and I knew we were going to be talking about heavy stuff like Emancipation, Kindred.
Uh-huh.
Um, we both wanted to. It was another one that you brought up too, Nanny. I don't think either one of us saw that.
So oh wait, no. Okay, I was thinking about something else. There's another show that I've been watching on Apple TV that dealt with a nanny. But you're talking about Nanny the movie, the one that's playing. I might try to catch up. I might try to catch that this weekend.
I said I was gonna watch it after this, and then we might can talk about that and The Banker next week, because I wanted to give The Banker a little bit more attention because it was good. It was just I could not. I had to go in and out emotionally. I couldn't be focused in it because if I'd have just watched that all the way through, I'd have been like, I would probably have my dashiki on right now, and like really, really angry because
So
like I
we
was
should go
watching
through
parts of it.
we should go through the Black Stories section on Netflix
Mm-hmm.
and just start picking out random stuff to watch that maybe went under the radar, didn't get talked about. There's actually quite a few films that I've been meaning to watch that I just never got around to watching.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was like the Idris. I never got a chance. I haven't yet watched. There was an Idris Elba film, Concrete Cowboy, that I remember watching the trailer and it looked really good. I just never got around to watching it.
I think
I'm sitting
I
here and
want
I'm
to say
actually
it was
looking
this
at
season, maybe like episode 1. We were supposed to watch that, and we hadn't
right,
watched that yet. I don't
and
think
we
it
didn't get
came.
to it.
Did it come out yet? I think it was
It's
something where
out.
it
No,
didn't come out yet.
it's on. I'm actually looking at the Black Story section um on Netflix right now.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen Lupin yet, which I actually heard that was good. I started watching Greenleaf and kind of fell off, and that was really good.
Greenleaf.
I thought Greenleaf was really good.
So you didn't
And
watch
I
that
think
when it came out?
I don't think so. Like I
It's a
don't really watch
story that's very with the exception of like the murder and stuff
yeah.
like that. It's very close to epic church life.
Yeah. Oh no,
Big
I watched
church
like
culture.
I've watched like the first season and maybe half of the second. And then I kind of just fell off. I don't know what happened.
Mm-hmm.
But like, we haven't talked about like Raising Dion. I don't think we talked about Raising Dion. We may have.
So one of the things on here that I did not, and I want to like it because I want to support Black stories, but I just can't get into the Upshaws. That's what
Upshaws.
Wanda Sykes
I saw a couple episodes. That's with Mike Epps and Wanda Sykes, right?
and Kim Fields. Yes.
Yeah. I think I feel like I watched a couple episodes of that and I kind of had the same feeling.
I also haven't seen Black Lightning yet. I still have yet to watch, and I was supposed to watch that like when we first started this season.
You should watch a couple episodes of Black Lightning, and if you decide to, let me know because then I'll refresh on my end so that we can have a robust discussion. But here, a lot of people that I know, Jasmine's Blues, which I think is a Tyler Perry film. Haven't watched that yet. And that didn't look like a typical Tyler Perry film. But I haven't watched that one yet, so we could probably put that in there to check out. But Black Lightning, right?
Right.
I was watching Black Lightning when it was on, because I'm a big fan of comic book movies, so I watched a lot of the CW shows, or most of them except The Flash. I couldn't get with that corny shit. It's like, no, The Flash is good. It was just mad corny. But I had this theory about Black Lightning. A friend of mine who is also a cinephile, we used to go back and forth because Black Lightning is mad corny. That's the first thing I want to say. But the only thing corny about it,
by just the cover that they chose.
But here's the thing though, and this was the point that here's what I used to say about Black Lightning. I thought that when it came to the depiction of like current Black urban life, I felt like Black Lightning was probably the best show on television until Black Lightning showed up. And that was my issue. I was like, outside of the comic book part of it, it was actually like, I want you to watch it and understand that this was on the CW originally, right? Because I think that's part of the context.
Was it this exact one, or just the story was on CW?
No. The entire Black Lightning is a CW show.
Oh, so you should have told me that to begin with.
It is now on Netflix. But here's the thing. I want you to keep that in mind if you watch a couple episodes, like the first 3 or 4 episodes of Black Lightning on Netflix, right? Because it tackled some very, very relevant issues in the Black community in a very, very realistic and straightforward way. Like the regular kind of like these characters just living their
I'm watching a
lives,
preview of it
right?
now.
These
When
characters
he's
just
like,
living
he gets
their
pulled out of the
lives,
car.
right? Yeah. But then what happens is where the show kind of, it was really crazy because it's like it's a superhero show, but it's when the superhero shows up, right? Then it gets really kind of corny. But in between those moments of like the action, the comic book action, I was actually shocked at like how much
serious
ground they were covering and then how they were covering it, because they weren't really being shy. And like the CW was in it, and that was what it was. It was like the CW was like the last place I expected to see some of these issues tackled so directly. You know what I'm saying? And like, quite frankly, very, very, like Black Lightning in those moments, I felt like was, fiddling that line of TV, TV MA14. You know what I'm saying? Like some of the content was very, very relevant and very heavy for a comic book show. And then he shows up in his glowy neon suit and stuff.
Well, I
and
mean,
I was like,
would it have been better casted? Because I'm confused. Like, does the principal play Black Lightning or this light skinned dude?
The principal is Black Lightning.
Okay. So I never saw it when it was on the.
It CW. Had nothing. It's not the acting. You have to see it to understand, and I think when you see it, you'll understand. It's just.
I'm just looking at like the cover for it now, and it's like I'm looking at some of these previews, and it's giving me real. Because the actor that plays it, he normally plays like those B-list Black movies. So
yeah,
maybe it was. Do you think it could have been improved with casting? No. Oh, he frozen.
Looked like we lost Nate for a second.
Oh, I'm here.
You were frozen. Who we lost here? What were you saying? No, you said, did I think it was what?
Would it have been better with casting? Different casting?
Oh, no, I don't think it was the casting that was the problem. Yeah, I don't think the casting was the issue. I think that literally it was just this juxtaposition. Like most of, with the exception of like Arrow, most of the CW superhero shows are very, they're very light. It's a superhero show. It's not meant to be anything particularly heavy or
they got Jill Scott in.
The storylines are not complicated. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they're not overly complicated. And then I guess to be Black and watch it, they're talking about things that are very relevant to us and our lives. Which obviously you're not gonna get from like an Arrow or the Flash or
I'm looking at this, and it is very obvious that it is him. It's very obvious that it is the principal.
Like, that's what I mean. So like that's one of the things. So that's one of the things I'm talking about. Like it's almost like so like Queen Sugar, right? Like imagine if Ralph Angel was like some Batman character out like in the show, right? And so like, but the show remains exactly what it is, right? It's like this really, really good show about family dynamics and like, pushing back against, legacy and like history and pushing back against these things and like very, very serious content. And then every so often, Ralph Angel's running around in like a spandex fighting crime in the city.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
because I just saw him in a costume, and his mask is like this.
Yeah,
and you see all of this. Like, sir, exactly. It's clearly you.
Right. So that was the thing. It was like when the superheroics started. I'm kind of sitting there like, yo, this is the most ridiculous shit I've seen in my life.
Oh no! I can see his head, like the goggles is you, sir. He has nothing else on his face. Like it's nothing else on your face, sir. Nothing.
But yeah, you should check it out. You should check it out for the
See, stuff like this is entertainment to me. I don't even watch this for continuity. It's strictly entertainment. This is, sir, this is him. Like, you are not hiding.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, it's you. Your glasses, your goggles are even like clear.
I'm trying to
No,
tell you.
I'm over stuff like this. Is I'm only watching it to laugh.
Mm-hmm. But
But
yeah,
yeah,
man, like yeah, let's start checking out Black Stories on Netflix, and like maybe we can
mhm.
watch a couple things from there and then talk about it. If you watch like the first 4 episodes of Black Lightning, let me know, and then maybe next week we can discuss, rewatch them.
How many seasons
Uh,
did this last on the CW?
let's check it out. Hold on 1 second. Let me go back. Let me see. Even the theme song was corny. I was like, "Yo, this is like Black Lightning's
I'm
back."
mad at this
I was like,
whole.
yeah.
I'm mad at this. Like I clearly know it's you.
So Black Lightning ran for 4 seasons.
Okay.
Well, there's 4 seasons on Netflix, and it might be currently. It might actually still be going on the CW for all I know.
Is it so I'm seeing some of the stuff on here. It's some pretty old stuff on here. Um did you say that I saw the Jazzman's Blues. Um
You did see that.
I
You've seen
kind of
that?
watched through it. I didn't really look at it, but that's something I'll it looks interesting.
Okay.
Oh, I you know what? I never saw 7 pounds.
What?
I
That's
never
old school
saw it.
Will Smith.
I never saw 7 pounds. And
We talk
I'm
about
just
that
seeing
next week.
other stuff on here that this I would want to see. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I would love for us to talk about and I know this is not Netflix, but Abbott Elementary.
Oh, we should absolutely talk Abbott Elementary. I'm
This
surprised
that
we
this
haven't yet.
this that genre of shooting show, like that docu dramas, uh, and how they shoot it. Like it's very it's very funny. Okay.
Yeah, that's funny.
Um.
I mean, like that office style. I actually enjoy when it's done well. I
Mhm.
enjoy it. And Abbott
It was.
Elementary is done exceptionally well.
And I tried to like hold off
And
watching it, and I said, let me just let a couple episodes I can watch through, and it was really funny. Um,
and you work in the
this
school. You worked in
right,
schools, like you know.
right, and but that was something that was one of those things where I was like, we gotta bring this show back because I started watching that, but it was something that all the teachers in my school was watching, and it was just
Mhm.
funny because we stopped complaining for a while because the show was bringing up like the craziness that is the school and in such an
Uh-huh.
exaggerated way, but it was definitely hilarious
Yeah. It
to
made you
watch.
feel like you wasn't alone.
Yeah,
You
but
realize you're
they
not
did it
alone.
in a way where it was humorous because I also
Mm.
watch a lot of podcasts with ex teachers, so you get angry and then you get this funny at the same time. But yeah, so let's just binge watch some Netflix stuff this week because I think that's what I was doing this weekend. Just trying to
Mm-hmm.
catch myself up because we're all out right now. I had stopped watching as much stuff, so I was kind
Yeah.
of like creating in my own space this weekend and watching like a lot of random stuff.
Got you.
So yeah, so
So
I
yeah,
guess
when we
close
come
it
back,
out.
y'all, if y'all got any suggestions, um, of TV shows or movies that we should check out, and talk about, drop them in the chat. We'll check back in,
Hmm.
and we'll try to make that happen in the next episode or two. I am watching Kindred right now, on
Hmm.
Hulu. I am completely sold after the first 2 episodes. So next week, I'll probably be able to come back and talk to you all about the full series and my thoughts on it.
I'll try to
Check
watch
out
that. I'll try to catch
Emancipation.
up some
Tell us what you
episodes
like.
too.
Yeah. We should do a poll, find out what people are thinking about Emancipation. But yeah, this Binge-worthy podcast. I'm signing off. G. Oliver, Mr. Nate Couser, and we'll see y'all next Tuesday.
Just give Emancipation a chance, not like the Nat Turner story, Birth of a Nation. Just give it a chance. I know y'all still on your feelings about him, but just give him a chance.
Yeah, he deserves it. All right, man. All right. Have a good night.
Peace out.
Peace.